On a cool December morning in 1913, an old man with sharp eyes and a sharper wit boarded a train leaving Washington, D.C. His silver hair was hidden under a wide-brimmed hat, his coat collar turned up against the chill. To the ticket agent and the few fellow passengers, he was just another traveler heading south. But to history, he was Ambrose Bierce, celebrated journalist, fierce satirist, war veteran, and author of some of the most haunting short stories in American literature. He had made a career of flaying hypocrisy with his pen and exploring the darkest corners of human nature. Now, at 71 years old, he was on the last journey of his life, a journey from which he would never return. Bierce's life had been a long march through the strange and the terrible. Born in 1842 in a log cabin in Ohio, he had run away from home as a teenager to work as a printer's apprentice before enlisting in the Union Army during the Civil War. He fought at Shiloh, Chickamauga, Kennesaw Mountain, battles soaked in blood, where death came quick and without warning. Those horrors carved themselves deep into his mind, later spilling onto the page in chilling tales like An Occurrence at Owl Creek Bridge, where the line between reality and hallucination blurs. After the war, he became a journalist, working in San Francisco, London, and beyond. His column, The Prattler, was feared for its ruthless wit. His Devil's Dictionary redefined words with a cynicism so sharp it drew blood. But behind his brilliance was a man shaped by tragedy. Bierce's marriage ended in scandal. 2 of his children died young, one from alcoholism, the other in a shooting. As he aged, friends noticed a growing restlessness, a morbid fascination with the finality of death. In his letters, he spoke of it without fear, almost with anticipation. To be a gringo in Mexico, he once wrote, that is euthanasia. And that, it seems, was exactly where he intended to go. In late 1913, Bierce crossed into Mexico, then in the throes of revolution. The land was fractured between rival leaders, Pancho Villa in the north, Emiliano Zapata in the south, and a crumbling federal army in between. Bierce, fluent in Spanish and drawn to danger like iron to a magnet, attached himself to Villa's rebel forces as an observer. He sent letters back to friends describing his travels, the dusty towns, the gunfire echoing across hills, the endless chaos of a nation at war. In one letter, he wrote he was having as good a time as one could expect, and hinted that he would follow Villa's army all the way to the front. The last known letter came in December 1913, addressed to his friend Blanche Partington. In it, Bierce mentioned he was at Chihuahua and planned to head toward Ojinaga, near the Texas border, where Villa's forces were preparing for battle. He signed off with a line that chills readers to this day. As to me, I leave here tomorrow for an unknown destination. And then, nothing. No more letters, no confirmed sightings. Ambrose Bierce had vanished into the furnace of the Mexican Revolution. Theories about his fate have swirled for over a century. The most accepted version is that he joined Villa's army at Ojinaga and was killed in the fighting, his body left among the uncounted dead. The battle there in January 1914 was brutal, a slaughter in the freezing desert, with hundreds of corpses buried hastily or left for the vultures. If Bierce fell there, the chaos of war would have swallowed any trace of him, but others believe something stranger happened. One account, published years later, claimed that Bierce was captured by federal troops and executed by firing squad in the remote Sierra Mojada Mountains. Another, told by a priest in Marfa, Texas, said he heard from locals that an old gringo, a description fitting Bierce, had been shot by revolutionaries who mistook him for a spy. Yet these tales are hearsay, unproven, tangled in the fog of memory and legend. And then there are the more romantic and unsettling possibilities. Some imagine that Bierce, weary of life and aware of his failing health, staged his own disappearance. Perhaps he walked away from the army camp one night, vanishing into the Mexican desert to die alone under the stars. This theory aligns with his own dark aphorisms. In the Devil's Dictionary, he had once defined suicide as the most exquisite form of self-expression. Was his final act to erase himself completely from the stage of history? A more mysterious theory hints at the kind of fate Bierce himself might have written. In several of his short stories, characters find themselves caught between life and death, moving through surreal landscapes toward an unknown end. Could it be that the man who wrote so vividly about disappearing into the shadows decided to live out one of his own endings? The thought is unsettling. Bierce, somewhere in the mountains or deserts of Mexico, still wandering in those last days, his mind sharp, his eyes scanning the horizon for the final curtain. And of course, there's the simplest explanation, that he died quietly, anonymously, far from any witness who could tell his story. In the chaos of revolution, thousands perished without record. Even a man as famous as Ambrose Bierce could become just another name lost in the dust. What makes his disappearance so enduring is how perfectly it fits his persona. Bierce was a master of ambiguity, of endings that left readers staring into the dark. His life had been a mix of wit and brutality, brilliance and misanthropy. To vanish without a trace was, in a strange way, the perfect final chapter, one he authored himself by stepping into a place and time where certainty was impossible. There is a certain poetry in picturing him riding across the desert, with Villa's rebels, the sun setting behind jagged mountains, the smell of gunpowder and mesquite smoke in the air, or standing alone at dawn in the Sierra, wrapped in his coat, watching the light spill over the hills, knowing the day would be his last. Whether he met death in a blaze of gunfire, in a quiet canyon, or somewhere in between, he left us the greatest mystery of his career, the story without an ending. Today, more than 100 years later, travelers in northern Mexico still trade ghost stories of an old American who appears on lonely roads, asking in perfect Spanish for the way to Ojinaga before fading into the dust. Scholars debate the truth. Biographers dig through archives, but the trail remains cold. Ambrose Bierce's body has never been found. His grave, if it exists, is unmarked. And maybe that's exactly how he wanted it. His life's work explored the thin line between the known and the unknowable, the real and the imagined. In disappearing, he stepped fully into that liminal space, leaving behind only the words he wrote and the shadow of his legend. As one critic put it, Bierce lived by his own terms and died by them too, even if no one can say how. So the next time you read An Occurrence at Owl Creek Bridge or thumb through the Devil's Dictionary, imagine the man who wrote them not in a library or a newsroom, but on horseback in the Mexican wilderness, heading toward an unknown fate with his eyes wide open. The cold wind in his face, the echo of hoofbeats fading into the distance, and there, beyond the edge of the map, Ambrose Bierce still rides, part man, part myth, forever on his way to an unknown destination. Thank you for joining me on this journey into one of history's most haunting disappearances. Now I'll ask you, if you could choose your own ending, would you rather go quietly into the night, leaving no trace, or have your final chapter written for the world to see? Share your thoughts in the comments, and if you enjoyed this journey into the unknown, please like, comment, and share. It truly helps keep these stories alive.